What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the E Squared Show. Sorry if it's a little late. This is gonna be a weird episode. Originally, this episode was about to be about like the student pipeline and stuff, but writing the notes for this episode, what kind of became apparent to me was the fact that Punjabi culture died, bro. And we'll get into that. Before we do, join the Patreon. We have quite possibly found some of the most interesting, sick people ever, and they're in the Discord, and they're gonna be in some of the. Let me explain this about the Discord, right? So, the Discord is paid to get in, but there's one Discord above that, which is basically the Trad Khalsa 24 plus, and this one doesn't have that many people in it. Because you don't pay to get into that one. You have to prove yourself in the regular Discord. Again, I'm not doing this shit for free. So you get in the regular Discord. You join the voice chats. We suss you out. We figured out what energy you're on. Are you some dumb kid who's just, every day making like dumb papa jokes or whatever in the chat? If you're that, like, okay, maybe we'll kick you out. Or we'll just let you flounder around, but you're not going to be like privy to these other conversations. And these other conversations, when you get to that other Discord, is we've got like researchers and PhD experts and Sikhi and Khalsa and all this kind of stuff. And bro, the conversations that we've been having and I've been hearing are like blowing my mind, man. People who are like in both of them, because everyone who's basically in the E squared server is also in the other one. It's been like a week since we've had that convo, and we're still talking about that stuff. The type of stuff that's being brought up is mind blowing, dude. And some of that inspired some of the points and things that I'm saying in this episode today. So if we have another episode, or we have another we're gonna have another one of those this Wednesday night. And so if you can come in by that time and show your stripes and all that kind of stuff, then yeah, maybe you'll get access. But, if not, it is what it is. Enjoy. But we also have some of those conversations going to be on the Patreon. So it's not even about and plus for the Discord, you have to join the $7 thing, and you have to keep subscribed to it. As soon as you unsubscribe, you'll get kicked out. It's just that simple. I need to explain that to people. But there's also episodes. We have a couple of Sikhi versus Christianity episodes, conversion episodes, and, some of the Discord chats now will also be in the Patreon. And I promise you this, it's a distilling process. If you look at the bandana and you're like, I can't listen to any of the thing this guy says because of that, that's fine. That's as far as you get. But some people, they keep going farther and farther, and then at the farthest level is that Trad Khalsa Discord server 24 plus, and they're like, some of those guys are paying $150 plus a month. So there's clearly people that are seeing, and these are like professionals that make bread and are like, they see why. And so, also, making the Patreon, whatever, I'm working on a video right now, and the reason why I'm pumping the Patreon is because this is a video where I need to get a concept artist, and I'm basically designing in my taste what the dopest gurdwara would be. And so for that, we need money. And so for that, if you put money in the Patreon, then I can do that. Or buy the merch, houseofjoehall.com. I haven't been really doing that, but we've been shipping out hoodies. Today there's a huge shipment. Canada Post is being lame, and it is what it is. And, I am making you guys wait before we get to the good, juicy stuff. It is what it is. Check us out on Ruckus. And I need to address something. Some dude has been trying to dox me and putting my addresses out there and stuff. And, listen. If you want to have a conversation, if this is like your version of like getting my attention, you have my attention, you can talk to me. That's fine. If you want to get hectic, that's fine too. Just let me know. But doing this weird, on random Twitter accounts or whatever, like, dude, that's like, what is that, man? Like, be a banda about it. Talk or like do something. But this like weird, like anti-threats and stuff, it's whatever, man. And like, listen, if bande are getting mad because I'm talking about stuff, makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing. And that's why, again, on the end of people who do support, you guys got to support with your money. your feelings and stuff. That's cool. You can go cash that out at the Gurdwara Bank or whatever. But this stuff is much more. This is much more deeper, and we're trying to do a lot more stuff. So Trad Khalsa, yo, join the movement, I guess. All right. Well, with that, let's get into the episode. So, this was originally going to be an episode about the Punjabi student pipeline. But as I was saying, when I started doing the notes, what I noticed is Punjabi culture unequivocally has died. And it starts with the fact that no one is a Jatt anymore. Okay? Just because you have this last name doesn't mean you come with the clout and the rep that it represents. There's bande. It's funny, like, and again, this is actually, like, in a weird way, the Khalsa and the Guru is right about like abolishing the caste system, because there's guys with Jatt last names who are doing carpentry, or electricians, or doing trades, things that are for the Tarkhans, but they claim to be Jatts. And so what has truly happened here is that what made a Jatt was this intimate relationship to the soil. And most of you guys don't have that anymore. You're working in law, in medicine, nurse, IT, the trades. Maybe 2% of you guys who listen or out there in the West are Jatt last name and do Jatt stuff like Kheti. And yet you guys aren't even Jatts anymore, because the Western mind has cooked you. You grew up in a Western you grew up in a Western society, going through their high schools, their elementary schools, watching their movies, listening to their music, and all this kind of stuff. And it cooked you completely. You're not like Jatts do not exist in the West. It's an oxymoron. It's like saying, like, you can be a Jatt on the moon farming. Like, you can't. There's just nothing to farm out there. A Jatt is a person who has a certain type of relationship to the land. They're a laborer / farmer type character in the Punjab. Well, you're not in the Punjab, and you don't till the land, and you have no relationship with land. You have relationship with ideas. All right? When you're a lawyer, you have relationship with ideas and concepts. When you work in banking, you have ideas of monetary, woo wah wah, as Matthew McConaughey says in The Wolf of Wall Street. You actually do not have a relationship that informs you on how to be a Jatt. So it's LARPing. You guys are all LARPers. Okay? Most people today have jobs that in India would change your caste. If you were a carpenter here with the last name of a Jatt, but in India you would be a Tarkhan, bro. So you can't be a Jatt in the West, because either Western tradition cooked you, or you have gone into some sort of job or something that's not what. LOL, I said that in such a dipper way. Not what. You're doing something that's just not. Again, I need to very much go deeper into the idea of the intimacy with the soil, right? It's like and this is from those calls, man. The guy who is dropping these facts. I don't want to name drop him yet because I might have him on the pod, but it's an erotic relationship with the soil where you get life from the soil. You get your food, your sustenance, your hard work, your kheti, your spirituality, your naam japana, your family, your protection, your everything from the soil. You have a reason to fight for the soil. And as soon as you're not connected to the soil, you sell your people out. And it's a very simple thing about, like, look at globalists, right? This idea that there's these rich people who, they'll vacation in California and winters in Switzerland and money in the Caymans and a house in Japan. Like, they're not connected to any single country because they're not connected to any soil. They're out here in the ethereal, which is also not bad, but because they're not connected, they don't care about the soil that they come from. And so when you're integrated with the soil and you care about the land, that does two things. You cultivate and find life from the land, and you die for the land. It's life and death. That deep philosophical understanding is like half cooked, half brain dead, maybe philosophized out here in the West. But as a Jatt, you're supposed to die for your land, and you live with your land. You live because of your land. That's done. It's non-existent. And the only thing that like was distilled from that is the fact that we buy houses. We bought into suburban Western life. But that's not having a relationship with the land. That's just where you live. It's you don't work your house, you know? You might have a little garden in the back to continue that LARPing feeling, but your life and livelihood is not tied to your house. Your life and livelihood allow you to have a house. But when you were in Punjab, when your family was in Punjab and you owned land, your every single day, your relationship with life was based on that land. You know all that like LARPing people like to do where they're like the mist in the kit is so beautiful in the morning and driving the tractors around and being in the kit and putting out the seeds and harvest. You don't know that. You don't know nothing about that. And yet you want to come here and LARP, okay? You know, so the guys that here's the big disconnect. I felt like Trump doing that. The students that are coming, that everyone hates and has so much disdain for, that are coming from Punjab are the true Jatts. And you all hate them. Everybody here in the West hates them. Every single Punjabi person hates them. Yo, you smell, bro. You have no civic sense. You're not this. But they're the true Jatts. Because many of them were only able to come to Canada because of the fact that they had land, they sold land, they took, things out on their land, and they were able to come out here to the West. But yet, you have not integrated with them. You haven't been like, yo, holy shit, the real Jatts are here. And there's a complete crazy level of disconnect, I don't want to exactly say it's like a mafia thing of like, Sicilians come here and whatever, because like I don't really know about that, but I do know some examples of like bande that are Italians that grew up in like North America and then they ended up going back to Sicily. But this like early 1900s or mid 1900s stuff, like I can't remember their names. Genovese family, I think one of their guys, Lucky Luciano, when he went back to Sicily, like he was able to reintegrate. But like most of you are not that. And so you are a completely different person. You do not have the relationship with the soil. You did not grow up with the land or like eating from your land. You grew up in the West and grew up as a Gora. You are LARPing as a Jatt. Okay? And in essence, Punjabi culture in the West has died. It's non-existent. I know people are going to be like, yo, how could you say that? But if you really look at it, it's all there. It's everything that you need to know is this, because the inherent question about culture is this, all right? People LARP about being Punjabi, and the LARP goes back to, is culture the look or is culture the feel, okay? Now, one of my buddies, one of my older bros, he always tells me this story about when he was at the Gurdwara and he saw Baba and he saw an old guy called him Baba Ji. And his dad, like, reprimanded him and was just like, dude, why the fuck are you calling this guy Baba? And he's like, because he looks like a Baba. He's like, yo, you go to mechanic shop, some guy's wearing a mechanic outfit. Does that mean he's a mechanic? And so, obviously, they're not. That person's obviously not a mechanic just because they have the look. So, the look doesn't really inform you the truth about somebody. Because how many people in, like, sick circles look like Yannis? They look like they know everything, and they do so many messed up things. It's so much harder to speak properly when I'm not adding an F-bomb and stuff. Because the grammar, like, swear words are just amazing for grammar, They just, like, round things out. But anyways, so you can't rely truly on the look of somebody or the look of something to know if that's inherently genuine, if that's the real thing. And this is something that's like, Sikhi also informs us that, like, there's so many lines in Guru Granth Sahib, like, these people look all holy, this, that, and then at home they do crazy things. So the look doesn't tell you, and Sikhi tells us this as well. Philosophy, like, this is just, you would have to be brain dead to admit that, like, no, if you look Punjabi, you wear the kurta, the kala kurta with the gold chain, which is just also such a corny look, and you do all that, then you look Punjabi, then that's the culture. No. The culture is a feeling. It's a feel, okay? And Punjabi culture is about who we are. And we are Jatt. And Punjabi, which means we have a relationship to the soil, to the land, which is what made us both the warrior and the farmer. We are neither one of those things here in the West. Our crisis of identity, not only in the last episode, but conversions, also relates to what we think we are today. We LARP about who we are and amalgamate a bunch of our like feelings, right? When you're a Jatt, you either work the soil or you protect it, all right? And from there, our cultural development starts, okay? I always argue that before civilized society came about, the number one resource on planet Earth was water. You know, I know people love to say the first job of humanity was prostitution, but prostitution, that idea, requires a framework of society, you know, where money, goods exchange, and all these kinds of things to happen. But on a pure basis, like, what's the number one resource was water, because water was life. Gurus talk about this as well, obviously. And so your farm, your land needs to be close to the water. So this gave Punjabis both connection to water and land. And obviously Punjabi means land of five rivers. Duh. And so those two things then influence our cultural development. You know, for example, Fulkari designs, right? Fulkari designs are usually based upon like wheat, or certain patterns mean certain things in our culture. And now people LARP like, oh, look, Fulkari this, Fulkari that, right? Harmon Corps drops that book about Fulkari. But it's like, you guys are like not preserved. The culture is so dead because you're not pushing the culture. You're not making new Fulkari designs. You're not saying like, yo, these new ways of being Punjabi are influenced by me being in the West and this is how we push it. You guys are just trying to quote unquote preserve something by just basically, it's like when scientists study dead languages. Yes, technically they're like practicing dead languages, but that doesn't resurrect the culture and the memory surrounding them. They're just doing, and that's what happens when people are doing this. Like, yo, we do Bhangra, we do Fulkari. You guys aren't advancing the art. You're not pushing the culture forward. You're just saying like, this is where the culture stalled. This is where it stopped, and we're gonna support it. You're not doing nothing. Like, look at the Buddhists, for example, right? Tibetan Buddhist culture, they go deep and they keep pushing the boundaries, man. They're in the areas of psychology, AI, technology. They didn't just stop when Buddha came and everything he said and that was good to go. You know, I just ordered a couple of books about like how they debate, and they add to this. They add frameworks. The culture is not dead. Their academia is not dead. Their studum is not dead because they keep pushing it. They keep pushing. They keep adding to it. They find derivatives. They find new ways to express and understand. That's not happening for Punjabi culture. Punjabi culture is basically stuck to what your dadi was doing. Yo, people do gidda, people do boliyan. Like, that's all the same stuff, man. People aren't making new things. Like, yo, let's be very real here. I always talked about this. This is a really crude example, but, you know, Babu Maan dropped that track, Raat Chandani, one of my favorite tracks by him, about like the sneaky link with the girl. If you want to talk about Punjabi culture, there should have been a Punjabi song by somebody that was about like late night sneaky link fucking in a car with your brown girl. Because that's what that's what our culture is today. Our culture isn't fucking hiding in the fields with your late night rendezvous with your special someone. Where are you doing that in Surrey? Where are you doing that in Brampton? You're not doing that. How are you linking with these girls? You're linking with them in the cars, in the parks, and you're trying to get jiggy with it. That's what the culture is, but you guys are pretending like it's Fulkari and Bhangra and Gidda. Shut up, man. You guys are kids. You guys are dumb. You guys aren't able to pass the torch on. You've basically, you're carrying on traditions, but you're not actually living the culture. You know, a lot of different cultures, a lot of peoples and societies can like preserve traditions, but it doesn't mean that they're living the culture. Eventually a tradition just becomes an archaic form of doing something for just the sake of doing it, and it becomes a ritual essentially. And you know, Sikhi's against that. And I'm not saying like don't do these things, but I'm saying like, yo, Punjabi culture overall is kind of dead because there's no advancements of anything in any new way. Bhangra, okay, let's look at Bhangra, right? On learnbhangra.com history, if you go look at the history, Bhangra didn't start until the late 1800s. Okay? During the British time. And it's not even an inherent cultural attribute of Punjabis dancing around like monkeys because, yo, the wheat grew, bro. We did a harvest, Vasaki. Like, shut the hell up, man. This idea that these things are our culture. Like, and here's it that Bhangra example proves my point though, because in the late 1800s they moved the culture what was being Punjabi by making this dance form called Bhangra and formalizing it. And so they were moving the culture forward. What is the Bhangra like thing today? It's like, yo, let's do Bhangra Gidda moves to like hip hop songs. You know how many like fucking edits I see on Instagram of like people doing Bhangra to like Not Like Us? Like, is that really moving the culture forward? And that also kind of admits that like Western culture completely cooked you. And don't even get me started about Punjabi music, bro. I heard some song by this goofy guy from Surrey, Raman Baines, about Birkin, where it's like, I'm gonna get my girl a Birkin. It's like, dude, what is going on, man? Just because you have the tumbi and the vaja in the background of your song doesn't make it Punjabi. What are you talking about that makes it inherently Punjabi? And this is where the problem is. This is the fact that the culture is dead. There is no advancement. There's just appropriation, there's amalgamation, and there's... I couldn't think of another Asian, but that would have slapped if I had a third one. But yeah, like amalgamation, like... let's be really real, right? There's that chick, that Barm chick, and yo... First off, she doesn't look like a Punjabi in my opinion, yo. And that's no shade. That's just like, yo, like, what's her real story? I would like to know because it seems sad. There's like shacks behind her and it feels like that's where she's from. You know, she's got a good thing. But like, as soon as I listen to the song and she has that line about the Glock, it just, I'm out, tap out. I don't care. Like, you would have to sell that whole shantytown village that's in the fucking music video and sell it for a Glock, buddy. What the hell are you talking about? Glocks? Really? That's what Punjabi culture is now? Chicago Glocks without switches? Get the fuck out of here, man. And so I'm not LARPing like, yo, I'm the biggest Jatt and stuff. I actually don't even care. Cause like you guys can like deal with that. Yo, I'm Punjabi, I'm a Jatt, we do Bhangra and we eat, parathe on Sunday and all. Cool. Like, I'm here trying to learn other shit. I'm here trying to like dissect Sikhi and the philosophies of like the Western tradition and art and actual culture and see how it moves forward. If you look at art, for example, let's use art as a cultural barometer for like understanding these things. They didn't just make art in the Renaissance and that was it. Every single 50, 60 years, art kept moving forward. Yo, the Counter-Reformation, the Renaissance, the Baroque, Rococo, collage, modernism, postmodernism, expressionism, cubism. Like, art just kept going. And now it's like at a deconstructed, like, goofy thing and stuff, whatever. But there isn't like a people, like Italians today aren't like just all keep doing Renaissance art to basically preserve the culture. They keep moving it forward. You had Michelangelo, one of the greatest sculptors on earth, but then like 100 years later you have Bernini, who even pushes the art further. Take that to Fulcati. There's no Fulcati master today pushing the art forward. They do this weird like homage thing where they're like, yo, we're paying homage, but it's not actually moving anything forward in any new way. Listen, Punjabi art is buns, okay? Fulcati is buns. Fulcati is literally, if we want to be real about it, is the fact that you don't have the elegance of like Ottoman Persian rugs to do crazy designs. So your designs are like mad simplistic. The intricacy is not there. I'm sorry. I know that's a really crazy thing to say. It's not self-hate, it's just a fact. And that's just critiquing art for art's sake. So Punjabi music, on the other hand, like, what about this is us? The fact that they're speaking the language? What part about it? That we talk about Glocks now? That this chick Param, like, she's a crazy hitter, bro, that she's got Glocks? Like, it just takes me so out of the fakeness that I'm just like, I can't. And Sidhu was the same thing. And the funniest thing about Sidhu was he's a student. And Sidhu, everyone dick rides Sidhu today, but you would never hang out with Bande. You would never hang out with the Sidhu before he became Sidhu, before he dropped so high. That guy, the real version of Sidhu, you think he's a goof. Even though that's actually the realest version of the Punjabi Jatt and the realest version of Punjabis. You today, the Western guy who's listening to me in English, would never fuck with that. And that's just a fact. That's not even my opinion. That's just a fact. Okay? What are the parts of our culture truly? Okay? And so if you go away from the look and we go about the feel is the beautiful aspects of the culture, like being straightforward. You know, Punjabis don't tiptoe around. When they mean something, they say it, right? They just say it with their jaw. They say it with their chest out, bro. They're not going to play that pussy shit and, oh, bye. No, bro. Yo, I'm say fuck you. I'll say fuck you to your face. That's how Punjabis get down. Anak. Having chardi kala. Brotherhood. Hospitality. Being joyous about the little things. Being courageous. Having pride in your hard work. Mehnat. Honor. Intent. These are the things that make a Punjabi person. And these are the things completely lacking from every single person that thinks that they're Punjabi. There's no anak. There's no honor. There's no honor in fucking brown men and brown boys. There's no pride in hard work with people. They don't care about the craft. They don't care about the thing that they do in life and put mad work into it and make it the best thing possible. These girls and guys they don't have chardi kala. They're not tapped in on some like, yo, it's all good, bro. We keep it moving. Yo, trauma, victim. How many girls who fucking have brown girl podcasts get on and start crying and bitching and moaning about that shit and then say it's for the culture? You are not part of the culture, bro. Because you have no sense of chardikala. You have no sense of optimism even when the cards are down. When the cards are down and you are not holding flush aces, you don't care. You still go out with a smile, even if it requires a bullet to the head. That's the Khalsa way. That's the true Punjabi way. That's not the way anymore. So when people try to talk to me about Punjabi culture, I say, shut up. Go listen to your Tupac. Go listen to your Sabrina Carpenter. Go watch your Twilights and Harry Potter. Wear your Aritzia. Shut the fuck up about this culture bullshit. Because you don't know nothing about it. You're not pushing it. You're not helping it. You're not putting your money for artists on the come up that are actually going to change Fulcati designs. You're not putting your money into places that will actually change the output and landscape of our thing. You listen to music. You basically want to listen to hip hop, but you don't like black culture enough to really give it its due. So you will settle for Punjabi people acting black and calling that Punjabi culture. Get out of here, man. I don't have time for that. If you accept some culture, you accept art, you accept all that kind of stuff, then rock with it. Don't pretend like you're about it when you're not. I had to just open up my chat GPT. Y'all buns, bro. I'm looking at this list of like what makes a culture a culture. And the things that are definitive, we've lost that, right? Like I talk about Sikhi all the time and how it's buns today and the way people teach it, but like, there's not deep Sufi poetic influences or Buddhist influences in our people. The language and literature, like people in the West aren't writing, let's take Rupi Kaur, Harman Kaur, Jasmine Kaur. They're not writing Punjabi poetry in Punjabi. It's like this, it's white. If white girls, you know how many white chicks I've chilled with that I see they have copies of Milk and Honey? Because it's white girl coded. They fuck with it. You think you put that in Punjabi and you put it to Punjab and the Punjabi Kurdiya and the Pinds are going to be reading Milk and Honey? No. So what does that say about it? It's Western themed. It's Western tradition. Everything is like this, dog. And so you can either hate me and say I'm wrong. That's fine. Go do that. Everyone have your opinion. But you'll have to admit at some point, somewhere, that we're completely cooked through amalgamation in the West. And if you can't admit that, then sucks to be you. Even music and dance. Like, we aren't evolving our music in a way that's inherent to what we are doing in Kirtan, in Punjabi music, everything. We're taking what other people are doing, Bollywood music, and we turn that into Kirtan. Yo, Kala music, we turn that into Punjabi hip-hop. But there is no sense of like, okay, let's take the algoze, the chimta, the sarangi. Let's take bass guitars. Let's take other string instruments. Let's take drums. Maybe we can add tablas and let's mix them all together. You know, if you listen to songs like Mola Mere or, you know, Tose Nana from that Anwar movie or whatever that movie is called, like they have tabla, they have all these beautiful elements. The instrumentation's amazing. The voices are amazing. Like they're basically pushing their culture in a beautiful way and they understand how to. Architecture and art like that, yeah, we got buns cooked on that. You know, there's never been like a, you know, Zaha Hadid architect or whatever that's come out from Punjab and stuff. So, you know, on the architecture and art front, we build these ugly kotiyan that basically mirror our suburban houses out here in the West. Like, listen, there is no one really pushing the culture forward and the art or none of that forward. Like, if I had money, I would do all that, you know, but I don't have the money because you guys are all poor and Punjabis are cheap. Yo, that's the funny thing. You want to know what Punjabis really are like today? Punjabis are, and I don't mean this in disrespect to Pape, but they're Pape coded, bro. You guys live in the cities. You guys are non-industrious no more. You guys are cheap as shit. You guys are not, you have no hospitality anymore. Like, all that stuff is dead. Yeah, your parents might have some of it, but it's completely gone with you. Your parents are especially, all Desi parents love to be cheap. I'm not cheap, dude. That's one thing about me. I will throw money at a problem, at an issue if I have to, because I will never be called cheap. Because that to me is an embarrassment to the idea of what Sikhi and all this stuff is. When somebody's trying to earn an honest living in something and you're trying to haggle them out of money. How many, you know, some of these like I don't want to drop names, but some of these like Punjabi guys who are rappers and singers out here in Surrey, who like when they get skipped the dishes, they like tip their guys $1. Like, I'm not doing well with money, I'll tell you that right now, but I at least try to tip $4 or $5 to skip delivery guy, even though the fucking Panago is up the street. And I could go and like get it. Because you need to have some level of like, yo, I call it Khalsa business. Like, I'll pay for some stuff for my people and stuff. That's the hospitality. Hospitality is not just when people come into your household. Hospitality is when you're out in their world as well. Okay? And then even now, if you look at all this other stuff, you know, clothing, you know, the kurta pajama and the pug and the salwar kameez, like these are all amalgamations from other cultures. And now, I'm not saying that's bad. I'm saying that that's cool. We actually, because of where Punjabi is and Punjab, and we go back to the soil, because we defend our soil, sometimes we die fighting and our enemies come and they congregate and they also assimilate into our people. That's why we look the way we do. We don't look like South Indians. Why don't we look like South Indians? Because we are at the front, right? The northwestern province, the frontiers, and people mix with us, which means that we should be down with amalgamation. But we take what they do and make it ours. Or, we make it ours. We're not doing that anymore. We're not doing things inherently that make them Punjabi. Instead, we'll do your thing in your way, but just with a Punjabi screen. A sheen, basically. You know, you know how many different cultures were doing those, like, Desi parents be like? You know, Fuzi got popular off that. Like, a bunch of people got popular off that. That whole situation is not unique. It doesn't actually inform people. It just informs people that your parents are immigrants. That's all it really says. It doesn't say that you guys have a very unique culture of some kind where you guys do something very unique. If you look at, like, I saw this post on Instagram. It was like, oh, LOL, an Afghan home. And it was like all the like, they had like seating on the ground, right? For like mehfil type of situations and stuff like that. Like, we don't have unique things like that no more, man. It's sad. And so, you know, most of our food, most of our stuff, it's just an amalgamation. But that's not wrong. That's not bad. The point is like, amalgamate, but make it yours, uniquely yours. Like, you own it. When you guys do Punjabi hip-hop, you don't own it. You guys are doing hip-hop in Punjabi. And so many other people are. That's the thing. If you look at India today, you look at Punjab, and that's, to be honest, the only thing that's making, like, Punjabi culture unique is the Sikhi aspect of it. But other than that, not really. But if you look at, like, how certain people dress in Punjab, like, that's not, everyone's not doing that. Like, see, I wanted to make the point, but now I'm like, yeah, more other people are kurte too. But a chola, Like Khalsa Bana, Khalsa Chola, that fashion very specific to Punjabi people. And when you wear it, it kind of tells people that like this is where you're coming from. Other than that though, most of it is amalgamation. You know, even on like political systems of like panchayats. We didn't bring that here. That would be a beautiful thing. Yo, you have some problem. There's like a respected panchayat within a suburb, within a community, within a borough, within a city. You go to them, you take your issue to them. Business disputes, all these kind of things. We don't have that no more. Where's that brotherhood of of us being Punjabi? That's gone. You know, bande rip each other off for a bag. There's no real reliance on one another. There's no like, okay, bande self-regulation. Yo, everyone ripped each other off, whatever. Let's go to the panchayat, the Surrey panchayat, and they're going to decide for us. And they're going to tell us who's wrong, who's right. There's no pure blood Punjabis out here anymore. Y'all mixed bloods, bro. And that's why Punjabi culture is slowly dying. And the biggest factor of how you can see that is how the students were treated. And I'll get into that, but you know, India, that's Punjabi culture. That's Punjabis in India. That's true Punjabis. But you know, everyone here doesn't like them. They say like change your civic sense. They smell, you know, whatever inherently is making them. Sorry, that point made no sense. My note. That's just I typed that so wrong. I'm so sorry, guys. Basically, what this point is that the people that are true Punjabis coming from the land, we don't fuck with them. We think they're weird. We think they're dumb. We treat these students so badly, even though they're real Jatt Punjabis, because the truth is we're Jatt in name only. We're Genos, man. That's a name I'm coining. Jino, Jatt in name only. We're not actually Jatts in any way. And again, that inherently comes from the fact that you just can't be. You just can't. That lifestyle is gone. There is no need to defend your land because the Canadian government does it. You're a pawn of the Canadian government. You're a pawn of Western ideas and idealism and ideation. So all you can do is just watch yourself slowly get cooked. I've had this other theory for a long time, which is like, yo, Punjabi is eventually going to get stopped being spoken. They're trying their best in Punjab, but if unless like massive movements happen, most of Punjab will end up speaking Hindi because they'll just have to. Hindi will be the language of economic, what's it called? Not stability, but prosperity. So you have to, and this happens all the time throughout history. You know, a certain language becomes a dominant language for commerce, and that's the language that's followed. And in India, it'll be Hindi, obviously, and so Punjabi will be a second language for these people. And then you come here, bro. How many people actually can read and write Punjabi? Speaking it is not like this. Speaking it is cool. That's great. But you can't save your language by just speaking it. You need to be able to get to the fundamentals, which is reading and writing it. You need to have actual literacy. You're illiterate. You're illiterate in Punjabi. You people don't want to ever admit that. Just because you can speak it, great, you're illiterate. And so the chance of you being able to speak, your children and your children's children to read and write Punjabi, gone. So if India, they're going to be speaking Hindi. In the West, you're not learning Punjabi. You're illiterate in Punjabi. It's going to die, obviously. Happens to so many languages. It's going to be, it'll be preserved. Don't worry. The culture of Punjabi speaking will be preserved in the universities. But other than that, people will stop speaking it. And for me, like, I don't speak Punjabi because I've never had the need to. My mom speaks English. My dad speaks English. Like, I have enough Punjabi speaking skills with my dadi and them guys and my nanny. But I can read and write. That's great. And I would love to teach my children how to read and write. But my brain is so coded to English that, like, I literally can't speak Punjabi because it'll, like, make me dumb. Because when you speak a certain language, it's connected to how you think about things. And so you can also almost look at it like if you speak multiple languages, your brain is compartmentalized in these different language groups. So if I spoke a lot of Punjabi and a lot of English, I would have like a Punjabi brain that makes me have a certain personality, and same with English. You can look into it. What I'm talking about is facts. So because so much of my memory, so much of my consciousness was constructed on the base of English, if I try to speak Punjabi, like I can't formulate the same ideation. I can't talk at this level. Even if I understand, even if I could speak Punjabi perfectly, I could not. I would have to, even if, again, if my Punjabi was speaking was perfect, I would have to take the thoughts I'm creating in English, translate them into Punjabi, and then speak them. My brain is not just wired like that. And that's just because the West did it to me. And that's most people. You know, some people that spoke Punjabi, but even again, like they're not speaking at a high level. Like, what is the words for consciousness, dissemination, ideation, inherently? What are these words in Punjabi? You kind of have to admit that at some point, again, no one's moving the Punjabi language forward and inventing these words. So, or these ideas, or these whatever. So you kind of have to just like forfeit and admit, like, okay, yes, English is superior for me to get deeper thoughts out. You know how when you speak in English and you go, like there's suffixes and prefixes. So like unless or de-stress. Like you can basically have any word, you know, like uncomplicit. Even though that's not really a word, technically you would kind of understand what it means because you understand the rules of English. Punjabi literature and all that stuff is like, you know, and this is like a RIP. Like I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy about any of this stuff. I think Punjabi culture, the thing that saved it was truly Sikhi, because you can look at it, Pakistani Punjabis, and you look at Jatt Sikh Punjabis, and Sikhi saved the Jatt Punjabis, and Sikhi is like completely rotted out at the core, and then it's having a negative effect on Punjabis. And that effect is most perfectly now seen in the student pipeline curse. This is shout out to you, PJ, from the Discord. You know, one of our $150 members. I know this you want me to talk about the students, but this is how it came about, because the student pipeline curse has exposed the true depravity of our community today and how bad it truly actually is, and how bad these students, everything that happened to them. These are our bhais, bro. These students that come from our soil, from our land, born and birthed on that soil, the land of the gurus, the land of our forefathers, the land of our lineage, our ancestry, where it all comes from, where we try to take vacations, all that. Those people came here and we treat them like shit. It is probably the most despicable aspect that shows you how horrible our community really is. And it's also another sad story of how Punjabi Jatt Sikhs are treated, because it's a ploy from India to destroy Punjab, because these kids don't come here for free. You know, I've had to get a visa when I went to Italy, and they have to see how much money you have in your bank account so they know you're not going to just leech off their system or something, and you have to be self-sufficient. So they have similar rules. So the Canadian government is like, you need to have a certain amount of money. How do they get that money? They're going to take loans out. They're going to sell land. They're going to do whatever to get here, because they get here thinking and taking the promise of the Canadian dream. And yet the Canadian government was complicit, because they knew that they did not have the intake infrastructure for them. They didn't have the colleges. They didn't have the jobs. They had none of this stuff for them. And basically said, we're going to use you and abuse you and get as much out of you. The buy-in for them was so high, the return was so low. And so the Indian government, they're happy. Yo, we have these people. They had to take a debt. They sold their land to us. They're out of here. Goodbye. And that created all this weird middle money manager type of bullshit. And like, listen, like that episode that Just Rain did in the show, the only one episode in 2 seasons of like 20 episodes that was good, that one about that student guy, which he's not even in any remarkable way, is like the best piece of anything he's probably ever done artistically. You know, that one perfectly illustrates obviously their like day-to-day drama, but I'm talking more on a conceptual level. Like, the Canadian government was so complicit in their usage and abusage, although that's not a word, but again, you know, English. You know, I think that there's a connection to that head of the college who just got beat, because again, there's no infrastructure to intake them. There's none of that. And yet the Canadian government is getting them to take these bullshit like jobs and degrees at these diploma mills, basically, where they're paying. It's basically a pay process for it's pay for permanent residency. That's what it was. And they did not care for these people at all. And so what did they do? They brought them over to get bullshit degrees, work bullshit jobs, live in bullshit basements, deal with the bullshit community, and just end up having bullshit behavior. That's what they did to our own people. The Jatt Punjabi LARPing cast, yo, I'm a Jatt and this, and Punjabi, or fucking weddings are $1 million, and yo, Punjabi music, blah, blah, blah. Those people that are your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, your family members, they came here and you gave no fucks about them. You never cared. You thought they were losers. You never integrated with them. You never mingled with them. Shut the fuck up forever about this Jattawad shit. Because you're not about it. They get rocked by both worlds, these people. And it's bad, man. Like, it's actually bad. You know, there's, like, basements that are turning into brothels where, like, brown chicks to pay rent are either, like, fucking the landlord or, you know, like, having sex for money. Obviously, that's what a brothel is. And you hear about crazy stories of, like, you know, the abortion clinics are full of these brown student chicks because they have no clue nothing about sex, and they're just, like, going buck wild because they're finally free. They finally get to go outside. Then you have that LMIA bullshit that's happening with our own community where you have these pizza guys or, like, all these guys are doing it where they're, like, to these kids, like, pay $40,000, we'll hire you. We're going to give you, like, $6-7 and like an hour, and it's just under the, like, it's so messed up. The trucker situation that happened in Florida, you know, they just want their points to stay. They're having to do whatever. You have, like, brown guys, these students, you know, going up and down, like, King George Boulevard or King whatever, Kingsway Boulevard, I think, or Street or Night Street, or I think it's Night Street in Vancouver, picking up hookers and stuff, hanging gangbangs and orgies with them, getting crazy STDs, getting wild in the community. And why can you blame them? First off, they get this freedom from Punjab. They now are, like, in the West, like, wow. And everyone is shitting on them. Like, you know, my basement is actually pretty awesome. It's better than some of y'all haters' fucking houses. The amount of cool shit that I have in here, I got a Focal sound system, dog. The music in here sounds brazy. Like, why would I leave and, like, go listen to shitty music in shitty places in the club when I can play, like, Sade on vinyl in FLAC? And you're a real audiophile if you know what the fuck FLAC is. But these students, they're in these fucking bedrooms where there's, like, 3 mattresses and there's, like, 8 of them sleeping in a single room. Of course you want to be outside. You don't want to go home. Home sucks, man. Home is like a slum. You'd rather be out in the world and chill and you know, be out at Sheridan College Plaza or whatever, and what do you, and the stuff they're doing is not like, whoa, like yo, these guys are from another planet, they're, like, abducting women and stuff. No, man, they're trying and figuring out how to, like, assimilate into the culture here, and you can't really blame them. Yes, they're annoying. Yes, you might have to tell them to fuck off and shut the fuck up, but, like, yo, I've had a lot of positive experiences with students one-on-one. Yes, maybe they're negative when it's, like, a group of them and they get that, like, herd, you know, paye mentality of, like, you know, mob mentality and stuff when there's a bunch together. But, like, a single, like, one-on-one, like, they're not bad, and they're being pushed to extremities because, again, like, who's not exploiting them in the community? I'll tell you a story. When I used to work at these halls, there used to be, like, certain managers for certain hall, or owners that we knew. And when it was like, oh shit, the student waitress is going to go see him, people would be like, oh, we know what he's going to do. And what would they do? They'd be fucking them. They'd basically be like, yo, we'll give you extra money, we'll give you this if you fuck me. Like sometimes, yeah, mostly it's, like, predatory. I can't even think of, like, times where chicks really want to get down and shit. Like, how messed up is that, man? It's our community doing it to our own, too. We're ripping them off. We're doing all this kind of stuff. Like, if we didn't have our hands out ready to give them prashad and all this, like warmth and be like, yo, we'll take you in. And the Punjabis of old had that. Don't forget. Punjabis of old, how do you think the communities grew up and started strong? When all these Bandhe were going into these logger towns, these resource towns and stuff. They did the same flex of like a bunch of people in one room, but they were like, yo, buddy, we'll help you out. Yo, we'll do this. When the whole Kamagata Maru thing happened, the entire community got their money together, and it was like $1,000 to hire a lawyer and to help them, the people for the Kamagata Maru and stuff. That's never going to happen today. People don't fucking feel bad about how these students are dealing with stuff, how bad things are back at home. They're like, yo, leave it to them. Leave it up to them. Oh, and then they'll be like, yo, they cause ruckus. They do that. It's like, dude, what do you expect, man? Like, no one's giving them beautiful stuff, beautiful treatment, beautiful basements. People are turning sheds in their backyard and renting them out. They're exploiting their own people. You are not a Punjabi Jatt. You have completely lost the meaning of being attached to the soil, and now you exploit your own people like a fucking dirty bummer, bro. It's the most pathetic thing that I think we can ever acknowledge or see. And there's no people, there's no girls, these feminist activist people talking about this stuff. There's no bande who think that they're proper Jats because they have a Baba Deep Singh tattoo or a peacock on their thigh that are talking about this stuff. About how, yo, this is pretty messed up. Yo, I thought like these are people that we should have love for them and like do their seva and stuff. Help them when they come out here. You know, get them on their feet. Get them connected. They don't do that. I'll tell you personally, man. One of my best friends on earth is a Singh. He was a student, and like I would die for this guy. Because he is true of heart, but most of the people, they just treated him like shit, man. Actually, I don't know if if they actually, yeah, they did kind of treat him like people like dismissed him or whatever, and like popular brown sentiment culture and stuff. And so the truth is that Punjabi culture is dead because look at how we treat our own. Are we making any advancements in any fields worth a damn? Was Lily Singh one of our biggest prodigies? Just Rain? Humble the Poet, any of these guys, I'm gonna do a whole video on Lily Singh, buddy. Like trust that. Jagmeet Singh betrayed everything there is about being Punjabi, being a Sikh. Gratan Singh, I don't know much about him, man. He just looks like the dark version of Jagmeet Singh, I guess, the night version. Lily Singh, completely just fumbled. Like she didn't even care about the culture. Let's be very real. They didn't push the culture in any way, do anything for Punjabi people. They kind of made her image worse. Lily Singh first. Actually, I don't want to get into this. That's another video altogether. You know, if I was like the Canadian, and if I just want to make a point about how the Canadian government should have done this, what the Canadian government should have done for all this student intake is they should have put them into fledgling towns that needed boosts to their economy in certain jobs, and basically started giving them points for certain things. You get a point if you get married. You get a point if you have kids and these things, and they will give you permanent residency. Because then the idea would be this. They have no chance of buying into Surrey or Brampton or these other cities. But if they have enough ability, because how you would do it is like them being here for 5 years and accumulating a certain amount of points would then give them permanent residency, but their roots would be so far planted in that place that they're in, these new cities that Canada does need, in fact. Like, we can't just keep throwing everyone in the GTA and the lower mainland. We need to spread the population. We need new cities. We need cities all over the place. So you send these students to these areas and give them PR points dependent on these things. Because if you get to the point where you have a kid, you have a wife, you have a house, you are very unlikely to relocate. And then the communities also get bigger and we start spreading people out. The student issues doesn't get as bad. The whole, like, they work all these jobs, blah, blah, blah. And I think it works, you know, and then Canada can get their whole assimilation thing taking over, because then their kids are going to be in the school system. They'll speak English, and then their parents will be like the first gen dipper parents that we had that are truck drivers and you know, in the trades or whatever. And I think that would have been a better version of all this, because instead we got to see, it breaks my heart of how bad the exploitation was, man. It's so bad, man. It's like, it disgusts me on such a deep level how we abuse and, like, we turned these guys into like our nokkars, man. Like guys who had like 30, 40 acres in India have to like do housework for people's and stuff here. It disgusts me. It hurts my heart to see it. I can't, man. And it's the biggest, it's the most clear cut fact that you can see that the Punjabi culture is dead. It's gone. It's done. I don't even know what else to say. I think like I didn't realize it'd be this sad doing the pod, but yeah, it's pretty bad. Whatever. Peace.